I don't love weddings. I don't really care about weddings. All of the ceremony stuff, that is all made up.
I feel like I've always had this like hate on for marriage. The misogynistic idea that a woman's worth is tied to her virginity, whereas a man's worth is not. Gather around the bride as she like tosses back the bouquet.
I think we should do like a toss the butt plug. Whoever catches it, might get railed that night.
Ooh. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Queer Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Carbon.
I'm Emily.
I'm Kaleb.
And welcome to the show. And psych, this is being recorded the same day that I lost my voice. So you still get cracky, creaky old me.
Yeah.
We like it.
Yeah. It's kind of hot, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So today we are once again joined by Kaleb Robertson, who is a queer, trans, and body positive activist that is known in drag as Fluffy Souffle. And among the many, many hats that you wear, today we are focusing on the one that is a wedding officiant.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, you may remember Kaleb from our episode on drag story times and supporting trans youth, but he is back again to help us with both question the institution of marriage, its heteronormative language, the misogyny, while also reimagining and queerifying said traditions, because we are all firm believers that we should be celebrating queer love. So where we want to start is really what drew you into officiating weddings.
I have done a lot of hosting of things and hosted a friend's wedding, like emceed a couple. And then there was one year where two friends asked me to officiate their wedding, but neither of them needed it to be legal. So one couple had already gotten legally married, but they wanted to do,
Ceremony.
a whole ceremony, party, all that kind of thing. And another couple just wanted to like get together in a park with their friends and family and do it like the ceremony, but didn't need it to be legal. So that kind of put it in my head, doing those two in one summer.
Yeah.
So in Ontario, because it's provincial, so it's very hard. So you have to be a city clerk, you have to be a judge, or you have to be a religious official.
Oh, wow. I didn't know any of this, by the way.
Yeah. So this is a little information for everybody. The more you know.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to become an officiant, which I think is bullshit.
Question for you. When you say like religious personnel,
Yes.
how religious, and how do you prove that?
Well, so this is the thing. My friend is a member of called the Angels of the Earth interfaith community.
Okay.
So it means like not specifically like Christian or Catholic or Muslim or anything. It's I think that she put all of the books into a box and sent that off to be like, this is our Bible.
Okay.
It's all of them.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, she has this community.
All right.
So that's how I'm in. I am a member of the Angels of the Earth interfaith community.
Love it.
Wow.
And, when I spoke to her about why I wanted to do it and about, community building and about giving queer and trans people options and knowledge and ways to do it where they feel respected.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to do it, and how I got into it is just breaking down what ceremonies need to be, what the province needs to be a part of, and found that it's actually really basic in terms of what is required.
Yeah.
So all of the ceremony stuff, that is all made up. So the very minimum is you need 2 witnesses and a pen.
Okay.
Which I can provide.
Yeah.
Or it can be a huge thing. And again, as big of a wedding it is, as long as it is, as many things as you put into it, the only part is there's one paragraph that you have to say, and that doesn't even have to be public. So the rest of it really allows you to make it what you want.
Yeah.
So it means that you can use whatever name you go by.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to say your legal name. And that's one part that we can do privately.
Yeah.
So if you are polyamorous, we can exclude things that talk about like your one and only.
Yeah.
Like it's these little things. But there's so many things that people get so freaked out about
People get
weddings.
weird about weddings.
Is that I want the legal part to be easy, and I want the ceremony to be what they want.
Yeah. So my next question for you is, what's your outlook on marriage in general?
I don't love weddings. I don't really care about weddings. I've never aspired to wed myself. This is really about community building and making things easier for people.
Yeah. But you don't feel like any negative emotions towards like the institution of marriage? You're not one of those people at all?
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, I think a lot of the history and a lot of the things that happen at weddings, I don't like the way that a lot of people feel pressured to do things.
Yeah.
I don't like the way a lot of people do things just for their family when it goes against how they actually feel. I feel sad for people that have to hide parts of themselves at weddings. To a lot of people, weddings are this huge thing of like, that is what we're supposed to aspire to in our relationships. Because I know I'm a child of divorce.
Yeah.
I've never had these stable, forever relationships around me. I don't know. I know that people can get divorced just as easily as they can get married.
It's a bit harder.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit harder to get
A little bit more paperwork.
Yeah.
I know, more paperwork, and it's
More
expensive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like
don't kind of get it.
Yeah. I feel like I've always had this like hate on for marriage. I don't know. I'm also a child of divorce.
Sounded like hard on. But
Hard on. No, I've always like disliked marriage, and I found myself being very negative when my sister was planning her wedding, and I was like, I'm being an asshole. You know what I mean? I'm just like shitting on her special day just because like I feel negatively towards it and like towards all of the traditions of it. And I was like, everyone should feel the way I feel. And it's like, no, marriage can also be something lovely too. And then recently we attended 2 weddings. One was like a queer wedding of our friends who run Elias Studio. And their wedding was really lovely. And their relationship kind of mirrored ours as well. And then that kind of unlocked something in my mind. I was like, I think I've been really angry because I didn't think it was possible for us. And then we went to my sister's wedding. And being there, I was like, okay, this was a really beautiful celebration of their love. And I was like, we kind of deserve that for our love too. You know what I mean? And it's like, it doesn't all have to be about the sociological history of everything all the time, It's like sometimes it can just be a celebration of someone's love. And that can be enough. Yeah.
But it is complicated with families, for sure, and especially with queerness. And not only, there's a lot of other reasons why families might not approve of a marriage.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, like if you're coming to that celebration, then you fucking pony up and you celebrate. Like no stink eyes allowed, no like grumbling, like you show up.
Yeah.
And it's also just so much money usually.
That was another
That's
thing.
the biggest.
That's
super
my cheap.
3 struggles.
Money.
First is money. I'm like, should we buy a house or should we get married?
Yeah, I'd rather travel or something.
Or
I'm like, I
travel,
don't know.
or like go to this incredible experience together.
Or be able to pay your rent.
Or that. Or get a car. I don't know.
Yeah.
So many different things that you could do with that amount of money.
Yeah.
And that amount of money to me is like, I could do so many, like multiple things versus one thing.
Yeah.
The second struggle that I have is like, the history of it, institutional. I don't want the government involved. But at the same time, if something happens to me, then I want them to be like, this is the person that is supposed to like be here, like at the hospital or looking after you, or this is the person we're supposed to call. And then the third thing being, I'm also not big on like, it's all about me today. I would rather it, but then I guess you can make it whatever you want. Like you could make it like, this is about like a celebration of everything and everyone I love, rather than like, it's all about me.
Yeah. It's like a celebration of the life that you've built, I think is a nice way to look at it.
But money though.
Money.
Because here's my thing. I'm like, a nice little party in the park is cute, but I'm kind of about the drama, And I'm like, if I'm gonna have a party, it's gonna be a wild party, I'm like, that costs money.
And I've done some really fun ones. Some friends who, again said that like, oh, yeah, we're going to get married. We're just going to do something. Can we come over to your house and we'll just sign the paperwork?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I live really close to the Dufferin Mall and I've always wanted to do a wedding there. Can we sign the papers at the Dufferin Mall?
You did it at the
That's
Dufferin
hilarious.
Mall.
We did a Cinnabon wedding.
Stop.
Which then the next day I'm like hearing about on the radio about how this couple got married at Cinnabon in the Dufferin Mall, and I was like, that was us.
How'd you hear about that?
Yeah. And then they did a little family thing, and then they did a rave.
I love that.
for friends. So it's also
Yeah.
like you can mix up what you do. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be this particular thing.
So maybe it's just us, but I think a lot of people get stuck on this like mental barrier to getting married. And it's not necessarily all about the institution, but about the idea of like your two worlds colliding. The two worlds kind of being like your super queer friend group and then your family members, and mixing them together and being like, "Ugh, I don't know what that's going to look like, how that could look." But how have you seen folks balance this in practice, and what are your thoughts around it?
In some cases, some family members don't come. It sucks. I feel sad for the people that want those family members there and don't get to have that. But I think that there's great ways that people can make it their own. You know, somebody did like a drag brunch.
Yeah.
So hiring drag performers to come into your wedding is cute. You know, like doing something in a backyard. Some friends recently started off with like, again, can you come over and we'll just sign the paperwork? Yeah, we did a huge wedding at Glad Day Bookshop.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this church or this huge venue. Like, what's meaningful to you?
Yeah.
Is the Dufferin Mall meaning to you? Is Glad Day Bookshop meaningful to you?
Yeah.
Is this park or backyard meaningful? Like, at the end of the day, people want to celebrate you. That's why they're coming.
Yeah.
People will want to see you happy. People want to celebrate your joy and your relationship. So, you know, the details don't always matter so much.
I think the struggle with us is that for Emily, what's really meaningful is a circus tent on the side of a cliff with like circus performers. I'm like, where are we going to get a cliff? And also like
I
people
can
on
compromise
stilts
maybe.
and drag queens and like all these different performances. I'm like, is it sponsored?
Yeah, like, right? So Cirque du Soleil sponsored
Cirque
wedding.
du Soleil, literally.
It wasn't on a cliff, but I have been to a circus wedding.
Yeah.
And
Really?
it was a dancer and a tech person, and
Yeah.
they had a big field and they had a huge circus tent.
Yeah.
As you arrived, you were greeted by people on stilts offering you
Sounds dope.
Whoa.
snacks. This was people that had family contribute money.
Yeah.
Maybe figure out your big, huge ideas
And then like make it
how
real.
they could be possible.
Yeah.
I've been to beautiful queer weddings where, you know, the guests are all dressed up in ways that are just like, look at these people,
Yeah.
like, and you want them to feel comfortable around your family. So it is this balancing act of
That's
like,
what I get worried about.
yeah, but it's also
Is my
like,
grandma gonna behave?
exactly.
Like, I love you. I want you to be here, but behave.
She's gonna have a couple of Baileys, and
That might make it worse.
exactly. Then things are going downhill.
Exactly.
But then there's also can be this beautiful thing where, you know, your aunt is dancing with the drag queen.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
you know, your uncle's getting down to
Yeah.
Lizzo.
And you see your worlds collide and you're like, oh, this isn't as scary as I thought. It's actually really beautiful and it's healing.
because
part
all
of
those
me.
people are coming together for you.
Exactly. And that's really what a wedding is about. And I realized this in the past year. I'm like, it's just a room full of people who really love you and really want to celebrate you. And I'm like, honestly, like who we are, who a lot of people who are listening to this episode are just super queer people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're coming, they're celebrating that about you.
Yeah.
You know, I think on like the cost piece, I have thoughts. That's why I want to add. But I personally don't think you should ever invite someone to something with the expectation that they're going to 100% give you a gift or pay for something. It's like you're treating that person, you're throwing the event, you know? That's my personal opinion.
Like you're choosing to have a wedding, you shouldn't be going into serious financial debt unless people give you money.
Yeah, you should be able to cover that full cost, and then whatever people give you is like, wow, thank you so much. That's my opinion, personally.
I have something to add to that.
Do it, please, yeah.
It's my own personal bias because I know a lot of people do this and it's fine for them, but to have requirements of like where you need to buy your garments, whether it's your tux or your dress or something like that, I'm like, that can be so expensive and like really hard on some people that don't have like the financial means, but they'll do it because they love you. That to me is a little
It's like specifically people that are in the wedding party.
Yeah, so like
kind of.
let's say for example, like the groom or the bride has requirements of like this is what you should wear and this is where you should buy it from.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times that place that you should buy it from is very expensive.
Yeah.
Well, it's expensive, but also all bodies are not the same.
That's also true.
So
Yes,
then,
exactly.
like, what are you? Are you taking into account sizing? Are you taking into account what looks good on people's bodies? Like all those different things.
Yeah. I think we should jump into a little game, perhaps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mention a tradition from weddings and provide the historical context. And then we're going to have a group reimagining of how you could redefine this tradition or just remove it, if that's the decision that we all come up to make it more queer and to
Right.
make it more you. The first, I think, is a huge one. The first is the action of like giving away the bride. And historically, I think this one's pretty clear, but the tradition really symbolizes the transfer of ownership of the bride from her father to her husband. So really this reinforces the idea that women were considered property.
Gross.
Yeah. How do we do this differently? How do you do the wedding procession in like a nicer way?
I've seen couples walk down together.
I think that's cute.
So that's really
I like
cute.
that.
And also kind of it gives the bride this like moment, this entrance that some people want. So some people have, instead of one person waiting, both people get to have an entrance.
Yeah.
So, one person gets to come down with their family or whoever their chosen person or people are. And then we get to have a moment for the other person to come down, because why not have everybody stand and like get to check out your outfit. And so it is less of a like, here you are.
Yeah.
You have my child.
Yeah.
Now you own her.
Yeah.
Because it's also like, I don't know, who does what? Like, does the dress person get to come down and the suit person has to stand there? Or what if they're both wearing suits or they're
Right?
both wearing dresses and it doesn't matter?
It comes back to this whole like shitty question that I feel like lesbian couples always get asked, where it's like, who's the man? Well, like gay couples get asked this too. It's freaking all queer couples. It's like, who wears the pants? Who's the man? It's like, why are we reinforcing this in our own relationships?
And for us, it's like neither. That's the point.
Yeah. Well,
Neither of us are the man.
we both like wearing pants.
Yeah, no, not the pants, the man.
Yeah. Period. Our next one is wearing white. You mentioned this before. So the tradition of brides wearing white really symbolizes their purity and innocence and can perpetuate the misogynistic idea that a woman's worth is tied to her virginity, whereas a man's worth is not. So what do we think here? Should we still be wearing white on our wedding day?
That's so
Yeah.
barf. What do you think? I feel like if it's your color, but
Yeah. Like, if you're going in this traditional way, which is still, again, everything that we say is not, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And you have to queer it up. If you want to do any of those things, do them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point, is we want everybody
Yeah.
to be able to create ceremonies and weddings in the way that they want. Like, I don't think anybody needs to know if you have fucked your partner. Like,
Yeah. And a lot of the times, I mean, you probably have. So.
right. Most likely.
Yeah.
And again, the people that are, say, two virgins who are getting married, there's probably a religious element. So there's probably a lot going on in that ceremony and wedding anyways. And then if anybody is looking at that bride being like, she's not wearing white because she's a slut.
Yeah.
yes, and
Would you want to wear white? I'm just like imagining. I don't even know. Are we going to get married? I don't know.
I don't want to wear white.
Pulls her ring out.
Pulls out the paperwork. Two witnesses walk in.
This was
Live.
very planned. Yeah.
No white.
Wouldn't wear white.
No, unless it's like a
I
white
feel like I'm
under.
too messy.
Yeah, you're too messy.
Yeah, I like color.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, like, there's the ceremony outfit, there's
Yeah.
the party outfit, there's the late night party outfit. Because also, like, if we're talking about specific wedding dresses, like, those are thousands and thousands of dollars also.
No,
Wow. And you're never going to wear it
I'm just gonna go to Valley Village.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this whole theme of upstaging the bride.
Yes.
Quote unquote. Have you seen these weddings where it's like people come dressed wildly? I love it.
Or dressed in, like, an off-white, and people are like, that is too close to white.
Yo, people get so mad about this. I'm like, I would
Yeah.
just say bring the drama.
Bring the drama.
Yeah. Please, in my honor, bring the drama.
During the whole ceremony, you just hear fans
Yeah.
clacking.
Please. Yeah. My grandma's like, "Ooh."
If you don't try to upstage me, I'll be
Yeah.
disrespected. Actually,
Right? Like, why didn't you bring it?
Why? Why? You don't love me? What?
You can dress up for Beyonce, but not for my wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one is big, and I feel like this one's actually big for straight couples as well. Name changes. Traditionally, women take their husband's name and are absorbed into their husband's family. The word absorbed feels weird.
Yeah.
This symbolizes a loss of identity and autonomy. What's a solution here? Because I feel like if we go into hyphenated names, that is a slippery slope of very, very long names.
Well, I'm Latina, so I already have very long names. This is nothing new to me. I can just keep adding.
Right.
It's
True.
no problem.
I see no issue here.
I see no issues.
Like
here.
if you
At the
get
end of the
divorced
day-
and married again, you're never gonna stop adding those names. It's like I'm
Just
keeping yours. I'm
keeping it,
adding this one too.
I just add. I never take
Yeah.
away.
12 names.
But you have like one that you go by, though. You know what I mean?
Sure, to like keep it short and sweet for the, Canadians.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Things.
On behalf of Canadians.
You make it so complicated.
It's so long.
I feel like one of the factors of
Yeah.
choosing a name would
Yeah.
be if you're planning on having kids.
Right.
And then, like, do you want the kids to have the same name? And again, the only reason why that might be a factor is traveling.
Yeah.
But legally, does it need to be? No. Do you make up a new name?
Yeah, I've heard people make up new names.
Does somebody have an attachment to their name and somebody doesn't? Like, if somebody's family doesn't accept them, like, maybe they're not as attached to that name.
True.
And the weight that carries. So maybe somebody wants to change their name.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, again, like, keep
Yeah.
your names.
You don't have to. The next is the bouquet toss. It's when a group of single women gather around the bride as she like tosses back the bouquet, and it's really seen as like a passing on. The next in line to get married is like whoever catches it is going to get married next. And it can really perpetuate a societal pressure that is mainly placed on women, that their main objective in life is to get married, which must happen within like a certain time period to adhere to like traditional gender norms and roles.
I
Yeah.
think we should do like a toss the butt plug. And
God.
whoever catches it, might get railed that night. But yeah, this idea of, again,
Yeah.
like, this is what you aspire to. I wonder if it has ever happened that the catcher has been the next one to get married and like, we knew it because you
Yeah.
got the bouquet.
Yeah, like,
Does that actually like is that
know.
reality?
Or,
don't
and
know.
because also I feel like people are there going like, don't throw it to me.
Yeah.
Don't throw it to me. I'm not looking. Or like, their partner is holding
Yeah.
them back and being like, don't go catch that bouquet.
Yeah. But I also feel like this and the garter toss, I feel like we
Right.
can kind of group these conversations together
Yes.
because the next is also the garter toss. So that's like a underwear-y
What does
like
that
thing
symbolize?
that the bride is supposed to be wearing, and then
Yeah,
the
what's
groom,
with the garter? Actually, what is that? That seems kinky. What is that?
It kind of is. So the groom comes in and I think he gets it with his teeth, right?
I
Yeah, with
have
his
seen
mouth,
that.
yeah.
I've seen that. And he takes it off, and then once he gets it, he throws it to a group of men and a group of single men, and then the man who grabs it is going to get married next. And it's really like it feels like objectifying.
That
women.
sounds not. That sounds
It's
not
gross.
great.
It's gross.
You just took off this thing from her leg with your teeth, and you're like, "Here, boys."
Get at
Catch.
it, boys.
It's weird. Yeah.
I
I,
don't
think
like
that one's a lot even weirder than the bouquet toss, but they're both very gendered as well.
Very.
And these were the two for me where I'm like, you could just control alt delete.
Yeah.
And like a way to end this off, I was wondering if you had a favorite queer wedding story from either a time where you've attended someone's wedding or you've officiated.
I have really gotten to do a lot, which is really cool. I would do it every day.
Yeah.
Because it is really cool. Because
Yeah.
even though you're saying things that you've literally said to another couple in a different
Yeah.
ceremony, like when you get to look out and when you ask a couple to take a moment and look around the room because, they're nervous and they're like, what do we do? Do we hold hands?
Yeah.
Do we look at each other?
clammy.
Or they're like looking at me like with terrified eyes.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, it's this beautiful moment that we get to share together. And I really do value getting to be a part of that for people. And then asking them to look around the room and be like, look at all these people that are here who support you and love you and are part of your community. And so I did recently get to do this one at Glad Day Bookshop of a couple friends who started with like, come over and we'll do a signing. And then it grew to like, okay, we'll do it in the backyard. Okay, now we're organizing this big wedding. But it was super them. Yeah, it's just beautiful. That was an opportunity where I did get to do what I do in front of a room full of people who've never seen that. So being at Glad Day specifically in a place where, you know, the week before I was taking off my clothes. And now here I am standing in front of this room talking, you know, earnestly and truthfully and authentically about this couple and about their love and about their connection to who was in the room with them. I love people crying. As much as I am sometimes a bitter little bitch who's like, fuck love, fuck weddings, I still like, I tear up sometimes. And it's happened a couple times during the wedding ceremonies where suddenly I'll just be like, I feel the weight of it. And I feel the weight of it for these people. And all the people that are there for them. And especially queer weddings, to get to see them being supported and loved, and sometimes knowing that some people aren't there is heavy. Knowing that like one side of the family or one set of parents aren't there, just and feeling sad for them because they're missing out on this. Like in a year when they're sharing their photos again, you know, in 10 years when they're talking about this wedding, and people had a chance to be there. And because they're queer or trans, they chose not to be there. And I'm like, it's sad for you. So the moments that you do get to look around and see the love, and, you know, when I have, you know, there's usually an uncle or a dad who'll come up to me and be like, great job, real great job, real nice work you did up there. and then somebody else will come up and be like, you know, that was so them. Like, thank you. That felt like them. And it's beautiful. And that's what it is. Like, it's not about this greater, you know, Sky Daddy. It's about this couple. It's about their connection. And, you know, who am I to argue against that?
100%. So if one of our lovely listeners is interested in hiring Kaleb or Fluffy to officiate their wedding, how can they reach out to you?
Well, they can try emailing me and maybe I'll get back to them. You can find me at like Let's Make It Official, TO at Gmail, and there's a Let's Make It Official.ca website. And it, even if you just want some information, recently I was like, oh, I did a good job of throwing this little website up. But yeah, it gives you some of the information about what you need, what's required, what's not, who can participate, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and that's what it's about. It's like, yeah, let's make it official. Sure. You know, official according to the government. Because your relationships are valid and official, whatever you do.
Let's get the government involved.
Amazing.
Right? Ooh.
Well, thank you so much, Kaleb, for being here with us again. It was such a pleasure having you and chatting with you.
Totally. And I'm totally open to even just people having questions. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Queer love.
So thank you so much for watching, and if you want to dive deeper into the history of gay marriage, make sure to check out this video right over here. Make sure you hit subscribe, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review because it really does help the podcast out. That's everything that we have for you today, and until next time, peace.